Welcome, everybody, to the first episode review for the Twin Peaks series, the pilot episode, the one that started it all. And it is available on Netflix, just to let you know the whole thing, so you can stream it if you want to watch. I'm not sure if Netflix does a free, first month free for new subscribers or not, so you might want to take a look at that. And I just wanted to read the description under the pilot episode on the Netflix site for the pilot episode, because it is just a great way of kind of wrapping up the general concept of the show before I go into the review. And it says, undercurrents of passion, greed, jealousy, and intrigue surface in a seemingly respectable town when a high school homecoming queen is murdered. It's a great way to put it. So yeah, we are given basically a double-length episode because it is the pilot. The other episodes run in the typical 60-minute time spot where you have your certain portion, 14, 15 minutes or so cut out for commercials. So the pilot runs without commercials at 93 minutes on Netflix. So first off, we get to the opening credits, where we have the bird sitting there perched on the branch, and the fading out and into the Twin Peaks Sawmill, with the very unique intro song done by Angelo Badalamenti, who's a composer that's worked with David Lynch quite a bit. A very talented individual. Does most of the music on the soundtrack, and you'll notice that it's got kind of almost a synthy ambience to it, instead of it always sets a kind of a peculiar type of mood, but it fits things very well. So you've got that transition from the sawmill into the old country road with the Twin Peaks sign, the water going next to it, and the mountains in the distance. That's very, very Western Washington, Cascade Mountains type scene. If you're driving along an old back road in Western Washington, in the forested areas, national parks and stuff, you'll see a lot of that. So yeah, very familiar territory for yours truly. And then we transition to the Snoqualmie Falls, where the Great Northern Hotel is located, which is the name of it in the show. I'm not sure. It is a real hotel you can go and stay at. But yeah, that's the Snoqualmie Falls that goes into the flowing river, and that river is important. That motif of that river, it does tie in later on with events, so it's important, and it becomes a bit more somber when we get to that point. And you notice how all of the title or the credits are shown in like a diner, fluorescent like diner light type of, or neon light, I should say, type style. And why they chose green, I don't know. It's interesting. They just decided that. But yeah, and you can see by how many names are flying by that there's quite a few people in the show, at least in the supporting cast. So yeah, and it's definitely why they needed the full 93 minutes to get you introduced to the cast and crew, and kind of get all that stuff ironed out before moving on. So, and that's pretty much what the focus is of this episode review and of that episode, is just we're establishing things. We're establishing our characters. We're establishing their little quirks. As you'll see, we're establishing locations, establishing the themes and the songs, the background tracks that will accompany various things as you go along. They'll be repeated because they fit with certain people, certain moods, certain locations, and whatnot. So once the credits roll and they're all done, we are taken to the home of Pete and Catherine Martell. Josie Packard is her looking at herself in the mirror. I don't know, she's humming a song or something, or thinking about something or other that's going on in her mind. And one thing you got to realize is that you should keep in mind that with all of these characters is always have it in the back of your mind. What are these people? What's going on? inside the heads of these people? Are they, what are they hiding? Or, you want to get yourself into the detective headspace throughout the show. I think it's more interesting to do it that way. To always be, kind of wondering, what are these people up to? So we've got the obvious relationship, I guess, frigidness between Pete and Catherine is well established. So we see him going out to do what he loves best, which is fishing. Pete, he's definitely one of the kind of one of the favorite characters. He's definitely kind of a goofy guy, and you'll be seeing plenty of him. And he, like I said, he is one of the more favorite likable characters. Kind of pops in every now and then. So we've established the site where the body was found and located, and established that Laura Palmer is very well known amongst the community. It's a very shocking event. And you get to see, Andy crying like a little baby when something terrible happens like this. But don't worry, it's not like it's not a running gag where he starts bawling, when something sad happens. It's just establishing him as having a big heart, being a bit of a softie. And you also have Lucy's weird way, and kind of annoying way of describing things when she's talking to the sheriff. So that's, like I said, when it comes to the kind of the awkwardness and of certain scenes, or kind of how some things seem kind of lopsided, almost like they generate these uncomfortable silences, not necessarily with silence, but through communication with these different characters. It just kind of gives you that kind of odd feel, especially when she's sitting there telling him, he knows where the phone is, and she's giving him all these specific instructions and whatnot. She's kind of a worrywart, let's just say. And we're also introduced to Doc Hayward. After that, we transition to Sarah Palmer, Laura's mother, at home. She's got a feeling that something's up when she can't find her daughter. And the staircase leading up to the upper floor with the ceiling fan, keep that image in particular. That part is fun, fundamental to the story. It ties in with a lot of things that happen. So that image will pop up, every once in a while, and it's also very very important in the prequel movie. So just keep in mind that there's certain scenes like that are reoccurring or shown that they do have significance. It's not necessarily a coincidence, and you'll see how that plays out later on. So essentially, after that, we're introduced to Major Briggs and his wife. We're introduced to Benjamin Horne and Leland Palmer, who are trying to sell a bunch of Norwegian business investors on a I don't know if it's supposed to be a resort, or it's the Ghostwood project, which is supposed to be replacing the Packard Sawmill somehow, or there's something tied in with the Packard Sawmill as far as that goes. So he's trying to, and you can see Benjamin Horne is just a kind of a shyster business guy, unscrupulous, whereas Leland Palmer is just kind of he's a lawyer, but he's also kind of your average Joe in a way, small town guy. So we have him getting the terrible news of his daughter's death, and seeing that reaction and the reaction of Mrs. Palmer, and she does it, like when I said melodramatic. Some of her reactions to what goes on do seem a little bit over the top, but it kind of gives her character a bit of uniqueness. It's like I said, it's almost got a bit of some of the reactions in the or have a bit of a soap opera-ish kind of melodrama to them, but it's intentional. Let's just I mean, it's from what I've gathered from reading and whatnot, that it is intentional. So and like I said, it's just another aspect of something that makes the show a bit kind of quirky and unique. Okay, so as far as other characters, we're introduced to Benjamin Horne's daughter Audrey, who has over time has kind of become a cult favorite, kind of I don't know, not. I don't know whatever the male or the female equivalent of a heartthrob would be. Let's just say a lot of guys apparently, kind of had a bit of a crush on her character. Not me personally, because I always thought she was kind of annoying. But anyway, don't want to tell too much. She's like I said, she's got a bit of an attitude, but she's obviously she's daughter of one of the wealthiest guys in town, but also isn't really all that in love with small town life. And that doesn't help, and it doesn't help that when Dale Cooper shows up, being this kind of guy from the outside world who's, catches her interest. But yeah, we also have the Double R Diner, which is actually a location over in North Bend as well. Has the Twin Peaks themed pie and coffee. If you're ever in that neck of the woods. And there we have Norma Jennings, who runs the place. Her husband, Hank, is currently on parole for manslaughter. FYI. Shelley Johnson, the waitress there. Bobby Briggs, the captain of the football team who comes in. He's connected with Laura Palmer, at least in public. They're, boyfriend and girlfriend. But obviously, he is messing around with Shelley Johnson on the side as well. So much for that. In the meanwhile, Shelley is married to Leo Johnson, who, once you see his scene, isn't he such a sweetheart? he's such an asshole. But yeah, we'll get to see what happens to Leo along the way. But yeah, he's definitely not supposed to be a likable character by any stretch of the imagination. And you'll get to notice that there's lots of people who are on the surface are maybe dating or interacting with one person, but behind closed doors or in secret, there's a lot of cheating going on and false fronts presented to the community, which adds to the whole idea that can we really trust these people? Who knows what connections do they really have? So that, like I said, now we're starting to look at everybody and wondering, who's who are we going to cross off the list of our suspects as we go along. And in another kind of bizarre scene, we get to the Twin Peaks High School, and we see Donna Hayward, James Hurley, and Audrey Horne again. So they're classmates. James and Donna they'll be a pretty significant pair for pretty much the whole series, because they were, Laura Palmer's best friends, essentially. Well, at least Donna was her best friend. And James was her secret lover, or actually, well, I don't know if they actually ever did go the distance, but yeah, seeing, Bobby on the in public and then James on the side. So, and James kind of he's kind of the lone biker rebel without a cause type. He's kind of, a bit naive in the ways of love, let's say. So he kind of fell head over heels and wanted to believe, that Laura was the prom queen, was what she was on the surface to everybody. And, and his whole deal is kind of trying to reconcile what he finds out about her as things go on with what he thought she was. So that's kind of his inner turmoil, which is going on. And then you see that fat kid with the mullet doing his little, his dance away from the locker, before they switch scenes. It's just little stuff like that you just kind of, you sit there and go, well, what the hell's that all about? But it's just the weirdness of the show, just stuff thrown in. So the police arrive, and immediately Donna has a feeling that something's up. They see that Laura is missing from the classroom, and apparently, because they know more than what we know. Remember, because everything's leading up to what has happened in the past with Laura up to this point, so they know something's up. And when an announcement is made by the principal, then everybody knows what's happened. And look at Audrey Horne's reaction compared to Donna or James or her friends, and you'll kind of get to see, it's a little bit of a hint at her personality. Maybe she knows something that those two don't know. And then we get Bobby Briggs and brought in to talk to the police. So he is our first suspect officially. He denies it, but like I said, who knows what is he hiding? But so we've officially got at least our first suspect brought in for questioning, at least in an unofficial capacity. Then we go over to the Palmer house where Doc Hayward is given Sarah Palmer, I don't know if he's given her some morphine or something, and they're questioning her. And she obviously doesn't know too much about it. We get to see what her last moments were talking to her daughter, and move upstairs to Deputy Hawk and Leland Palmer in the bedroom, and we find Laura Palmer's diary, or at least one of the diaries, I shall say, the diary that she's got in her room. So the diary of Laura Palmer, let's just say the writings of Laura Palmer are very important to the case. So that will be something that comes back throughout, little hints here and there. And I do believe that David Lynch's daughter wrote a book that was basically this is the kind of the diary of Laura Palmer, where she wrote in and filled in a lot of the stuff that was supposed to be a supplemental to the show. I've never seen it. I just recall it. So afterwards, some of you may be interested in tracking a copy down and seeing what's in it. I haven't yet, so maybe I will eventually at some point. So that's it. There is some supplemental material like that, since the diary of Laura Palmer becomes kind of a focal point throughout the story, because we're getting clues, because she's obviously not as all well with her and her life underneath the surface. So that's kind of, we're getting a bit of a glimpse with that. And then we transition over to the Sawmill after finding out that another girl, Ronette Pulaski, was also missing, not in class, and that her father works at the mill. So we see the power struggle between Josie Packard and Catherine Martell Packard, just to let you know. So Catherine Martell is the one that knows how to run the mill. Pete's, kind of the foreman, I guess, or the head guy there. And then, but Josie Packard legally owns it. So yeah, she was at one time married to the brother of Catherine Martell, Andrew Packard. So that's where her name comes from. So yeah, there's constant tension between Josie and Catherine, and poor Pete, he's caught in the middle between it, and he's always trying to play the mediator or whatever you want, or the moderator, or whatever you want to call it, trying to keep things from going erupting between them. So yeah, you can see how moody Catherine is when she just asks the guy his name and fires his ass on the spot. And eventually Ronette, we see her crossing over the train tracks bridge. She's got rope wrapped around her wrists, and her dress is all ripped to shreds, and she's all bloody. She's kind of in a catatonic state. She doesn't know where she's at, but somehow this is maybe this is giving us another glimpse into maybe what happened previously, since the night before, since she and Laura were both not around at school, but apparently on the surface they hardly knew each other. And then we get to see Big Ed Hurley, another one of the locals. It's born and bred Twin Peaks, has his gas station, everything, and he's actually James's uncle, just to let you know. And we see his wife Nadine with the eye patch. Isn't she a sweetheart? Yeah, there's a funny story behind the eye patch that you'll learn about later. It's not, I won't tell it, but it's not going to spoil anything if I did, but let's say it's just kind of funny. And yeah, she's a real pain in the ass, and we'll see later on that old Ed and Norma are seeing each other on the side too. So here's another group of people that are kind of leading I don't know if you really call it a double life, but they're doing things under the surface. nobody really seems to be happy with their, with their relationship status. It seems like in Twin Peaks for most of it. A lot of unhappy couples that are kind of messing around. So I guess I don't know, if that's kind of more of the soap opera-ish drama element that creates a bit of drama, but it's not done to be the focal point of things, which is fine. And these characters do, they're not just there to be kind of the soap opera-ish, romance type of intrigue, backstabbing type thing. They'll get fleshed out and play an important part later on, so don't worry too much. It's not going to dissolve into just a lot of love triangles and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a small town. That's kind of where a lot of the drama is probably going to end up being when it comes to relationships between people and whatnot. So keep that in mind. All right, and finally we get to meet for the first time FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper. A man who, let's just say he has his own philosophy and marches to his own beat. And you'll probably be asking, who is Diane? The person he always addresses when he records to his little handheld recorder. I will tell you that Diane is a mystery that has yet to be solved. Just to let you know, there's no, it's a quirky part of his character. I'll just let you know, so you don't get too, who's Diane? What does she have to play with it? It's just someone you'll never, let's just say you're never gonna physically see Diane. So I mean, and that's not a big spoiler, and it's not going to ruin anything by knowing that. I'm not sure if Diane will be an actual character in the third season. Maybe we'll finally get to see her. But yeah, it's just kind of the quirkiness of his character doing his little routine of kind of recapping what's gone on. How he's talking about this great food he had and all this stuff. It's kind of funny. And to let you know, Kyle MacLachlan actually hates cherry pie. Just as a spoiler. There's a lot of consumption of cherry pie and coffee throughout Twin Peaks' run, let's say, by many people. So yeah, he actually was not a big fan of it. So let's just say he suffered for the art by all those slices of homemade cherry pie. So we get Sheriff Harry S. Truman, interesting name, obviously not difficult to remember. Meets up with Dale Cooper. We go to see Laura at the morgue. Dr. Jacoby, Lawrence Jacoby, who's another goofy guy. He's definitely another oddball, and is her psychiatrist. So maybe what does he know? What did she tell Dr. Jacoby in privacy and when seeing him for therapy sessions? He's another, like I said, he's another kind of mystery character that we'll find out about. And you'll also notice a guy, bearded guy, that gets out of the elevator before them, and it kind of goes off to the side. He will be appearing later on in other parts of the story. So yeah, that guy, he wasn't put right in front of them just as a coincidence. So they visit Ronette, who's comatose, and he wants to examine under her nails. And they've already said they've scraped for any kind of evidence. Doesn't find anything, but he does find something underneath Laura Palmer's fingernail. And this is a major clue, and it's a big part that will play a bit of its own little mystery to kind of so it'll present more clues to you to try to figure out as you go along. When and it officially ties in a previous case with the Laura Palmer case. So that's the significance of it, which he tells people, at the town hall meeting, that something like this happened previous to another person. At least the evidence hints that these two cases are connected with the murder of Teresa Banks, which happened previously. All right, so I'll try to speed up the rest of it, since a lot of it is just establishing locations, establishing characters, establishing the soundtrack. So we have them going over to the sheriff's department to question Bobby, Dale Cooper, FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper. decides that he doesn't think that Bobby did it, so he lets Sheriff Truman know on his little some outdated technology there. They do find a lockbox bank deposit key in Laura's diary, and the bag is also, they think, Cooper thinks has traces of cocaine, which Sheriff Truman's like, oh, that's impossible. Laura Palmer was the homecoming queen. Everyone loved her, and there's no way that she could be involved in anything like that. Well, what did they find? They find about 10 G's in her bank deposit. So now we're getting our first clues that something may not have been kosher or okay with Laura Palmer, and that what she was doing, behind everyone's backs is not necessarily all that savory. Let's just say some shenanigans going on, something going on that led to what happened to her. We established the Roadhouse, a location we'll see a few times, and it does have a significant part to play. There is a supernatural element. It's a unique place, let's say. As far as that goes, and we'll be returning there a few times. Some very important events will take place there. We're taken to the train car where the murder took place. We see the ominous words written in blood: "Fire, walk with me," which again is very important. You will, I think, within the next couple episodes, you'll understand. You'll never really understand the phrase. It's kind of, it has more to do with the occult and the supernatural, so it's kind of an ominous thing. But you'll get little bit of a better explanation of it, though it is kind of some kind of the unique in the supernatural sense, which, as we go along, this supernatural will become a bigger and bigger part of the show. And to wrap things up, we see that Mike and Bobby are gunning for James, since Mike, or like I said, Bobby has kind of pretty much figured out that James was seeing Laura. We see that Sheriff Truman, who currently wasn't shown as being linked to anybody romantically, is seeing Josie Packard in private, and then someone gives Catherine Martell a phone call that they need to meet and talk about it. What's going on, because the sheriff's coming by again, and the sheriff is obviously linked to the investigation. So he's probably coming not only for a house visit, but probably also to ask Miss Packard if she has any knowledge of the situation. And they also reflect upon that this was probably the same time of night when Laura met her end, which after the call to Catherine Martell, we shift over to Sarah Palmer. Actually, after we see that traffic light, which you've seen a couple times, where going to red and kind of swinging in the night in the breeze, and it has its, like I said, there's almost like this kind of feel, this electricity or energy in the air. It's kind of this own kind of presence that little things like the stoplight and whatnot, and the wind blowing through the trees at night, with accompanying with the ambient track or soundtrack or whatever that create this ominous mood. So we go back to Sarah Palmer. She's lying there, I think, and I think I don't know if she's just kind of daydreaming or out of it. But we see the shot again, like I said, about the staircase leading up to Laura's room, and we see her. Looks like Sarah's having some kind of a vision, if she's dreaming. And we see that the necklace or part of the necklace that was buried by Donna and James, is being unearthed. And so this is, obviously this is very disturbing to Sarah. So we're getting an idea that she has this kind of, I don't know if you'd call it clairvoyance, but she does have this kind of ability to kind of see things through her dreams, or she has like a very kind of minor kind of psychic not, I don't know if you call it an ability, but she's just kind of attuned to these sorts of things like that when she sees something going on, obviously that is actually taking place and that she was nowhere near. And then we end the episode with the Laura Palmer theme, which is a great piece of work. I recommend, if you're go to YouTube, find the video. The title is Angelo Badalamenti Explains How He Wrote Laura Palmer's Theme. I'm sure you can find it, just Angelo Badalamenти explains how he wrote Laura Palmer's theme. And I'm just going to say it. When you watch that clip and see how David Lynch and Angelo came up with the theme, I can't describe it any better than how Angelo describes it himself. But I mean, it's just basically, to wrap it up, David Lynch just sat next to him and just kind of put these ideas in his head, kind of talked him through all of the sensory information, where they're at, what they're hearing, what's going on and all this kind of stuff, and he'd start playing it out, and it just shows how genius Angelo is as a composer. So yeah, I would go and watch that video after this because it just does a beautiful job. It's only 4 minutes or so, but you get to understand Laura Palmer's theme, and you pair it up with that picture of her homecoming picture, and yeah, it just says it all that needs to be said about her, about that picture, being what everyone thought she was, and the mood kind of is kind of peeling away that facade and kind of revealing that there's something very, very disturbing and very troubling going on behind all of that. All right, well, yeah, this particular episode review is pretty long, basically because it's the pilot, and I wanted to point out, some of the things like the soundtrack and all that, and like I said, once we we're getting all the principal characters in there and everything. So now, as we're going on to episodes going forward, I'll be able to just break it down, within 10 to 15 minutes at most, and get it covered. But when you got the pilot episode where there's so much going in, I didn't want to leave anything out. So yeah, everybody, I'll see you again soon for the review of episode 2. I hope you enjoyed the pilot, and hopefully you'll enjoy these reviews, and please feel free to comment below and ask questions or anything, or comment, and hopefully get some more subscribers. I noticed that some people were interested in the review or the overview, and subscribed on mine, so that's cool. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.